You have to believe in yourself in order to build a model for success. Now, what's wrong with that? I come from an inner city. The biggest dreamers are the people who don't have an opportunity to pursue a dream. Because all you can do is just look at TV. That's why in the African American community, entertainment and athleticism are so big, because it's relatable. You can go see it. You can go teach a game. You can see a singer. You can play the music. I can do that. Well, I guess my dreams are on TV. So I watch TV. Because of the fact that I was exposed to television, they accepted there was more than what I saw when I walked out my front door, it put a burning desire that, what's next? What can I achieve? Who can I be? And that's the key right there, because people allow other people's limitation and vision to be introduced into their dreams will alter the course. I kid you not. I would still be at IBM. Nothing wrong with being at IBM. But believe me, when I left IBM to be a stand-up comic, there was a lot of controversy surrounding, is that a dumb move? How are you gonna make money? And you know the funny part about it? I couldn't tell you how I was gonna make money. I just know that I was gonna leave IBM and be a comedian. It's time for you to understand that you are stopping you. It's not your parents, it's not your minister, it's not your kids, it's now on you. Now, when you stop, accept this, change. Accept this, planning. You have the tools to win. Just use it. New York City is a great city. Every block, every neighborhood is different. Such a powerful environment.
It's a town, I think, where there's so much opportunity. There's also a lot of pressure. It says you either make it or we're gonna go on to the next person.
New York has a mystique that tends to draw the most talented people in the United States and indeed the world to it.
I am back from New York City. It was crazy, it was noisy, and it was full of incredible people. And one of them is Rushion McDonald. This man has worked with some of the greatest names in media, from Kevin Hart to Jamie Foxx to Stephen A. Smith. But he's also something you wouldn't expect, and that is a master of reinvention. He grew up very poor in Houston, Texas, but found a way to get him into IBM, where he worked for a few years, and then decided that he was going to pursue a career in comedy. Everybody told him not to do it, but he was determined to try to make it there. And then when he finally saw that there were other opportunities, he decided to invest everything in the Steve Harvey media empire. And this guy pretty much engineered his whole career. He's super smart when it comes to knowing how to build a media personality. And he continued to do that, getting Stephen A. Smith an $8 million contract with ESPN. Pretty incredible. And now he's reinventing himself with a new book, a new personality, and a new message to people his age and also to the millennials. And that is, why settle at average when you can be so much better? He's an incredible guy, has some amazing stories, including how he survived cancer and how he's coming back. And I know you're gonna love this incredible episode with Rushion McDonald. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Rushion McDonald, the entrepreneur, brand ambassador, and media executive. You were the brand architect of the Steve Harvey media empire.
Yes, sir.
And a two-time Emmy Award-winning producer, working with names like Monique, Kevin Hart, and Jamie Foxx.
Yes.
You also mentor and manage Stephen A. Smith, America's most famous sportscaster,
yes,
who recently signed an $8 million annual contract.
I won't confirm that. I won't confirm that.
Okay, that's what I hear. Making him the highest paid talent on the network. We'll talk more about that later. Your new book, Why Accept Average When You Could Do Better, hits the shelves next year. Rushion, welcome to London Real in New York City.
Thank you. Well, my favorite city, by the way. I came here as a stand-up comic, pursuing my dreams. And so whenever I come back, it's always a breath of fresh air, because I know that dreams can be achieved through hard work and consistent and relationships.
Yeah. What does this city mean to you? I know you lived in LA, you know, you got places in Atlanta and Houston, but like when you think of New York, what do you think of? Like, what does it make you feel?
Well, you know, I lived in New York before Disney was on 42nd Street, when they had the strip clubs and the drug deals and all that was going down. And when you walk down the street, you didn't know if you get out alive walking down 42nd. And so when I remember one time I came out of the subway, and it just felt like it was such a powerful environment. But what more importantly is, I realized as a youth how important New York City is into our books, into our history. And so when you come up here, you see the Statue of Liberty, you see Empire State Building, you see Broadway, you see 42nd. It really was like walking through a history. And it really affected me because I didn't realize I knew so much about New York until I arrived. And then tried to be able to conquer this environment. That's what it is. You have to win over New York.
Oh yeah,
New York will fall on you.
You got to fight for things in New York.
It will fall on you, and so it never fell on me, and I'm proud to say that because I realized the environment was tied to hustle. It's tied to mass amount of people moving in one direction. I always tell people that one thing I love about New York is that if I walked out of my apartment naked, just no clothes, by the time I get to the street, I have a hot dog and be fully dressed. By the time I get to the block. Because that's what New York is. I furnished my apartment off of the streets of New York because I lived on 86 and First. Just went up a couple of blocks, 90, high-end area where they was putting out lamps and sofas and all that. Packed it onto my place, and I have one of the best decorated apartments in New York City, off the streets of New York City.
That's crazy. You know, it's a town, I think, where there's so much opportunity, but there's also a lot of pressure. Right. And it doesn't give you a big warm hug, you know, it doesn't give you puppy dogs and rainbows. It says you either make it or we're gonna go on to the next person. That's what it means to me.
Well, isn't life like that?
Yeah.
You know, I think that
it's magnified here.
It's magnified here because there's so many people. I mean, I know when I was living here, it was like during the day it was 12 million people. At night it was 7 million people. So imagine you're just a crowd of people suddenly came into your house. You'd be confused and trying to figure out why are these people here and what they're going to do, what can I do, how can I benefit from them all being here. That's what New York City is. Just a rush of people coming in, they're doing their business and they exit immediately. And that type of atmosphere can be very frustrating for people, can be very intimidating for people. I loved it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Hopping in a cab. I enjoyed walking the streets. I walked down from 125th Street, which is Harlem. I walked all the way down one day. I walked all the way down to 20th Street because I enjoyed the atmosphere. Every block, every neighborhood is different, and it's really New York City is a great city.
Yeah, it's great to be back here.
Coming from a boy from Houston, Texas.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot to be said from a guy from Texas. So, you know, I wanted to kick off and just ask you, you know, how can you tell when you've met a talent, you know, someone who's got that thing, that X factor or something in them where you're like, man, I really think this person can be a star, because you work with some big names. And I'm wondering if it's a one thing that you see, does it come over time? I remember Dana White saying when he had dinner with Conor McGregor, he said, this kid's got something that's gonna make him a star. And I always thought, but isn't that about fighting? And it wasn't just about fighting. So, you've seen this.
Yes.
Is there something?
It is. First of all, a little backstory on me. You know, I was a very talented stand-up comic. And then I met Steve Harvey. He was my opening act. Comedian Steve Harvey, the megastar Steve Harvey.
Was your opening act?
Was my opening act as a
Wow.
stand-up.
Okay.
And then Def Comedy Jam came out, and I had my own comedy club in Houston, Texas, and I went out, and the Def Comedy Jam tour came through Houston. They asked me would I perform on it. And I hadn't seen Steve in about 6 years, actually on stage. Okay. And I went on stage, and as they say, I murdered the stage. I slayed it. I left that stage, it was on fire. And he was following me.
Okay.
And so I sat back, and prior to it, to the show, he'd asked me about his set. He'd asked me, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, so there was a level of respect that he had for me. Going through, he said, I'm thinking about doing this. Rushion, I've been down to Houston a long time. Would you think this would work? This would work. And so when they introduced him, before he even got to the stage, he got a standing ovation, which was like, okay, he hadn't even told a joke yet. So the audience knew something special about him if I didn't know anything special about him. Of course, he went on stage and he did material that I would ever have considered doing myself. And I realized that this guy is funnier than I would ever be.
Wow.
And so 6 months later, he asked me, when he got an opportunity to have a show on ABC, what I wanted to do. And I told him I wanted to be a writer. Because I'd already seen greatness. I already saw a stand-up comic that I could not achieve his level of comedic ability. No insult to me, but what I've learned in my life is understand where your pecking order. And so when I run into talents like Jamie Foxx, when I met Jamie Foxx on his TV show, I told him he was the next Sammy Davis Jr. type guy, because he could do those things. He could sing, he could dance. He was far funnier than Sammy Davis Jr., but I knew he had an ability, and guess what? He won an Oscar. Same thing when I met Monique. Monique, her natural ability, and all these people have a desire to be great. See, a lot of people want to be great, but these people have a desire to be great.
And you can feel it when you meet them.
When you talk to them, their conversation is different.
What do they talk about? The future?
They talk about the future. They talk about, and also they talk about, and they're very informed about telling you what you should be doing.
Okay.
Because they're trying to choose the people that come along with them.
Okay.
Because of the fact that it's a very competitive market out there. As you know yourself, you have friends you go to high school with, they go away. You have friends you go to college with, they go away. But eventually, when you're on that path to success, either you hire the people to protect you, or the friends who are with you understand you, and they can maintain that speed. And you can't ever have people around you that doubt your dreams. And so people who are special have those people around them. And they also have they're already putting it in place. That's the funny part about it. They know where they're gonna go.
So they're building their team, they're recruiting with their vision.
I'm telling you something, Kevin Hart, I used to see him run around, and I didn't even know him. It was this guy running around. He had like 2 or 3 people following him around, videotaping himself on stage all the time. And I said, who is that guy? It's Kevin Hart. He'd do his routine, hop off stage, go to the next club, do his routine. So he had a vision way back then. So I'm not shocked that he has more social media followers in the history of stand-up comedians. Nobody matches him, because he was already putting those wheels in motion.
He was building the future.
He was building
those assets of himself. He knew they were going to be worth more.
Absolutely. You know, and Stephen A. Smith, the same way, hard worker. I always tell people say, well, you know, you did this for Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey is special talent. He works equally as hard as I work. Those are the people I gravitate to. People who either try to outwork me or match my work ethic. Those people, if you want longevity, there are famous people out there. But for longevity, all these people in the entertainment industry who are corporate wizards, they are workaholics, but in a good way, because they're workaholics about their brands. And people tend to knock them because they use the word, well, they're selfish. They only think about themselves. Well, I think that's how it works. You have to believe in yourself in order to build a model for success. Now, what's wrong with that? And so that's what I build my philosophy on, is that people have to start thinking more about themselves and then come back and rescue other people. You can't rescue people when you're drowning too. And that's the philosophy people have now, and we gotta change that.
Yeah, one of my mentors says, get selfish. That's what he says, get selfish. And a lot of people don't like that because, you know, we're taught to help other people. But he said, unless you make the best of you, you're gonna be a drain to other people.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna tell you something. That's because people don't understand the word selfish. Because it's been described to them in the wrong task. It's been described to them. We're talking about, if you want to be successful in life, you have to set aside time for that opportunity to be successful. Now, I have a beautiful daughter. I've not been there for her all the time, but that doesn't deny my love for her or her love for me, because we talk all the time. And so it's how you have to reshape the relationship so everybody understands what you're trying to do. And if you're doing something that cannot be explained, it's like your life. If somebody asks you what you do on a daily basis, you go, you know, I really can't tell you. And you know something, I'm not gonna tell you because I'll be tired telling you. Where if you're a bank teller, there's nothing wrong with being a bank teller or IT person or a person who sells, they can tell you exactly what they do. And people understand that. So when people like us come into play, people who are visionaries, people who are entrepreneurs, people who are entertainers, you have to be selfish because the clock that we work under isn't a normal clock. We may have to do something at 2 a.m. We may have to work 20 hours in a day, which I've done. And so the 8-hour clock does not work for us.
And it's natural for people to reject you for what you're doing because it's not normal.
That's
it might
exactly
make
right.
them feel weird
That's
and stuff.
exactly
So you
right.
get called selfish, workaholic, egocentric,
Yes.
all these other things. But that's what determines greatness.
It determines greatness because
Most
of
of the time.
And I would tell you this is that I also preach a balanced life. You know, something I didn't have. You know, I would tell anybody openly that 16 years of managing Steve Harvey was fantastic, but I didn't have a balanced life. I didn't understand how I could get off that wheel, that little rat wheel.
How was it not balanced? You were working all the time.
I was working all the time because I was learning on the job as well, and also I was fighting. You know, this was a brand I was building by myself. I had my best friend and Steve's best friend as well, attorney Ricky Anderson, but there was no major agency supporting his transition from very popular African-American comedian to the guy he is now, which is world-renowned and crosses all genders as well as racial and lifestyle boundaries. You know, there was nobody there but me. And so I had to trust my instincts. I had to trust and believe that I could do these things. So when you are tired like that, when can you stop? When you can't, when can you? Because if you do, you might miss some information for the next opportunity.
So you wouldn't do it again, but you're glad you did it then.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna tell you something. I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it again because you know lessons are what they are. You learn from them, and so. I don't have a bad life because I had that experience. I have a great life because I had the experience. But you learn from your experiences. And that's what a lot of people don't do. They complain about it, but they don't want to learn from it. And that's a stubbornness that they have to stop.
Admitting to yourself that Steve Harvey was a better comedian, you got to check your ego to do that. A lot of people would live the rest of their lives trying to beat him on stage. But you've had a lot of interesting transitions in your career.
Yes, I have.
From, you know, IBM to stand-up to what you're doing
Writer,
now
producer,
even.
yes.
Now you're writing your own book and doing your own thing. That, in my opinion, when I look at you, I see a man who can separate his ego from the equation and make a logical decision about what's the best way forward and the most effective way forward.
Right.
Am I right in that? And how did you find that? How did you get that way?
Well, you know, let's put it this way. I come from an inner city. And so I would tell you that the biggest dreamers are the people who don't have an opportunity to pursue a dream. Because all you can do is just look at TV. That's why in the African-American community, entertainment and athleticism are so big, because it's relatable. You know, it's something you can go see it. You can go teach a game. You can see a singer. You can play the music. I can do that. But what's not attainable in their minds is IBM.
Right. Because you don't see African-American role models in those places.
In the inner city.
Right.
You don't see it. So how can you dream something that you can't believe? Well, I guess my dreams were on TV. So I watched TV. And I watched TV and it showed me there was a world that I didn't see that world when I walked out my door. So curiosity really was always was locked to me very early on. And then I had teachers who saw that same blinding talent that I resisted because it was tied to hard work. To do anything in life, as you know, Brian, it's hard work involved. And so if you are not willing to do that, then you're just dreaming about an opportunity that you will never accomplish or achieve. And because of the fact that I was exposed to television, they accepted there was more than what I saw when I walked out my front door, it put a burning desire that, what's next? What can I achieve? Who can I be? And that's why I'm able to, as some people have called me, a Renaissance man, because I'm able to adapt and accept responsibility of who I am and what I'm capable of doing at that moment and move on.
What are those TV shows you're watching that put the dream in there?
I'm gonna tell you something. Of course, Ed Sullivan's show, Red Skelton's show. As I got older, the Flip Wilson show. When I started seeing black people on TV, going, wow. Anybody else seeing this? Sanford and Son, these shows started letting me know there wasn't enough of them on TV, but there was enough for me to be able to say, okay, they look kind of like me. And where are they doing this at? And so you get curious and you start doing your research and you start cutting out pictures of cars. You start driving in different neighborhoods when you could, or catching a bus in a different neighborhood, driving by houses and go, why don't these houses look like the houses where I live? How did they get to these houses? And that curiosity, what has drove my personality all my life. I'm gonna tell you something. If you got a nice car, I'm gonna figure out why I can't be in that same nice car.
Were you born with that?
from my mom, she had a high school education. My father had a 3rd grade education. He was a truck driver. So it wasn't like my atmosphere pushed me in a direction to be that way. But what they allowed me to do was just be Rushion McDonald. You know, trust who you are. And my mom really allowed me to be who I am because she felt that I could do anything that I wanted to do as long as I worked hard to do it. And I've never failed her. I've never failed myself.
Did she see you become successful?
Absolutely.
And how did she feel about that?
Well, I was able to, one of the things, because we grew up in the inner city, and one of my goals in life was to say, my mom, she's going to live a life in central air and heat. And she had this house in the community, and she wouldn't let me tear it down. But I built
the shotgun house.
Oh my God!
What's the shotgun house for people that don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you open the front door or the back door, and you shoot a gun through the house, it doesn't hit anything. It just goes right through. That's what they call a shotgun house.
Small, thin house. Right, okay.
Absolutely. And she would not let me tear that house down. So I built the portion I built to it was probably 4 times more expensive than the portion that she was holding on to. So she got to live that life.
And you say to people, get out of the inner city, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of your messages, get out. Right?
I say get out of any environment that's negative to your potential dreams. Okay. And I tell people that because I'm gonna tell you something. A parent could be negative, your kids could be negative, your wife or girlfriend, your partner could be negative, your minister could be negative, because you have to realize that a lot of people can't understand your vision. It means they're not gonna give you advice. They're gonna hold you back. They're gonna set points of doubt in your mind. And that's important for you to understand that, is that so many people right now being held back by people who say they love them. And they don't even know that. But they're afraid to admit that because, well, they would, because guess what? It's work. Let me tell you something. If you want to achieve success, everybody around you have to accept the responsibility of the success that you're trying to achieve. If they don't believe in it, you'll never win with that person. Right. So you have to surround yourself with people who think like you, walk like you, talk like you, eat like you. Now, if they happen to be a different color, cool with it, go for it. If they're the same color, cool with it, go for it. But you gotta have people who believe in your thought process, your dreams, your work ethic. Otherwise, you will not win.
Now, a lot of people are saying, Rushion, but if my mom loves me, how come she doesn't support me?
Because she doesn't understand you.
Right.
She doesn't understand you.
And she's got her own life and her own values and her own limitations.
Absolutely.
That are being projected on you.
You said it right there, limitations. And that's the key right there, because people allow other people's limitations and vision to be introduced into their dreams will alter the course. I kid you not. I would still be at IBM. Nothing wrong with being at IBM. But believe me, when I left IBM to be a stand-up comic, there was a lot of controversy surrounding, is that a dumb move? Or is that a good move? Are you crazy? How are you gonna make money? And you know the funny part about it? I couldn't tell you how I was gonna make money. I just know that I was gonna leave IBM and be a comedian. But I left with so much doubt though. Because they had burdened me with so much, so I left with, I could always go back.
Right. And that's that safety net you say don't have.
Yes.
Because that held you back.
Yes.
You weren't all in.
I wasn't all in.
Right.
I wasn't all in.
And that made a difference.
It made a huge difference because once we allow somebody that negative message to creep into your dream, it will slow it down or it can alter the direction. That's why people are sitting at home, not happy, working in jobs, they're not happy. And then guess what? They take that negative spirit that affects them physically. And guess what? Eventually can lead to, guess what? A disappointing life, physically and mentally.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people, though, aren't willing to sever those ties of love because it's my mom, and it's my brother, and it's my sister, even though they could probably openly admit to both of us right now that they have massive negativity and it's holding them
Absolutely.
back. But they just aren't willing to make the cut, and go forward. What do you tell kids?
I'm gonna tell you something. You have to write down, it really is simple, write down the pros and cons of that relationship. You have to write down and you will see that the cons will outweigh the pros. And then you have to say, what do you really want to do? And I'll tell people, I'm When people hit 40, 50, 60, I'm gonna tell you something. They basically have given up on their dreams because they have in their mind, based on the system that surrounds them, that they cannot achieve it because they're getting too old, there's not enough time. Because you get it in financial meetings. They'll tell you, well, you know, you gotta invest differently if you're 40 versus 30 versus 50 versus 40. They'll tell you right there, there's a clock that you might not be able to achieve financially. So things are put in place throughout your whole life to tell you when you reach a certain age, stop.
Right.
You'll never achieve it.
And you don't believe in any of that stuff.
You cannot. But people do that. But the power of the youth, though. So I tell people in your 40s and 50s and 60s, if you're not happy with your life, go back to in your early 20s when you had that fire and brimstone, when you were a dreamer. You said, this is what I want to do. Before people start shifting your ideas and taking over your path and telling you should be doing this, and you accepted that ignorance. In that 20s, that's the person you wanted to be. And it's not too late. You can still be that person. Go back and understand that those values. See, do not look at that job resume, because everything on that job resume is things that you just did for a job. I'm talking about your passion, your gifts, of what you want to do. Those are in your early 20s. They got shifted, they got diverted, they got changed because you got married, you moved, maybe you're in the military, got a bad relationship, or you just lost confidence in yourself because you didn't have people around you protecting you. Go back to your early 20s and start shaping your future. And do not let your age stop you. 40, 50, 60, just numbers. I don't care. I'm gonna tell you something. When I wake up the next day, I'm happy because guess what? I've already went to sleep knowing I have a plan of success when I wake up.
I mean, I see people in their 70s these days crushing it. I mean, they're crushing it.
Yes.
And so you can channel that 21-year-old you. You also say when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, don't look down on the millennials. You're saying look at them and see how they can inspire you. Look at what they're doing, right?
I'm so disappointed in how people are so negative on millennials. I hear people, well, they want to be successful right away. Okay, I grew up with a rotary dial telephone. Okay, to dial 911, okay, just press the button now, or just say 911. Technology allows you. The problem I have with the older generation, or my generation, is that they don't embrace technology. So they don't really understand why a young person can think this way, why a young person can be as arrogant about their opportunities. I'll call anybody on social media really as an entrepreneur. Know that right now, because you have the ability to brand yourself, to promote yourself, because
you said it's like having your own press conference.
Absolutely, it really is. But more than that, used to be corporations did that. Corporations used to say, "Hey, I'm going to tell you I got the best hamburger, I got the best car, I got the clothes, I got the best perfume." But now, as an individual, you can say that. See, that's the difference. What we have now. And we need to embrace that. Millennials are taking advantage of that. That's why you have so many young millionaires and billionaires in the history under 30, because they're taking advantage of that technology. But because we don't want to accept that and understand and feel that our clock has run out, or our clock won't allow us a window to achieve any particular dream that I'm talking about, Rushion, shut up. I'm 60. Okay, why are you telling me? Why are you accepting the fact you have an age to tell me about? I don't live my day based on my age. I live my day based on the fact that I have a goal tied to what I want to do in 3 months, 6 months, in a year. I don't say, hey, I'm 60, 61, 65, 70. If you start thinking like that, then you'll start limiting your opportunities.
Yeah, so embrace that technology, get inspired by those millennials, and get back in the game, right?
Well, not only get back in the game, accept the game. The game is not changing, it's just advancing. The really interesting thing, Hillary Clinton, when she announced her presidency, that was the first time she did it, and it was done on an iPhone. So realize how fast life has been the last few years. And so with that being said, before that, we didn't have that technology, didn't have that belief. So now we have to understand that technology just keeps getting more and more advanced, the apps. And if we don't accept that, I'm talking about the older generation, then we'll be missing our opportunities to be successful. Please understand that technology, embrace it, and it will be your friend, and drop age.
Yeah.
Ignore age.
Very well said. Let me ask you about creating content, because you went to work for Steve Harvey. Yeah. You went in the writer's room.
Yes.
And a lot of people out there want to create content these days. Like you said, it's been democratized. Everybody is creating some type of content.
Absolutely.
You were in some of the top writers' rooms in the country. You spent 15 years in LA. What can you tell us about that process, what you learned? You created some incredible shows for Steve and built this whole empire for him. Tell us.
Well, you know, the thing about it, Steve gave me my first writing opportunity on his first show, ABC's Me and the Boys. And after that show, I went to Robert Townsend's The Parenthood. And then I went to Arsenio Hall's ABC sitcom. Then I went to Tia and Tamara Mowry's Sister. And then I went to Jamie Foxx show. And then I went to Monique's show, The Parkers. And then in 2000, I started managing him. So I had built a resume before I started managing him, which allowed me to have a confidence level when it came to content, to have a vision when it came to saying, if we do it this way, you can achieve success. That's why when I managed him, I did all of his concert tours. You know, all of his speaking engagements. I shot and directed all of his concerts, comedy concerts that went to DVD, Blu-ray, live feed. I did all that because of the fact that I understood that content control, content creative. So what do you hear now? Content's king. That's what everybody, but I always knew content was king, but I also knew that if you want to really make money, crossover. If you really want to be able to syndicate your brand, crossover. And that's what I did with his brand. And he was a willing participant to be able to say, let's do this.
Crossover, and what does that mean?
Crossover means that you're going from an urban market to a general market.
Right.
Okay, which means that if you're in syndication, you go from like 75%, 65% of your show being broadcast in the country to 99 to 100%. That's a major leap.
Right. And you're doing that right now. Stephen A. Smith, as you said, was doing Oscars tonight. I know him from ESPN Plus, and you know, he's having arguments with Joe Rogan about comments about Cowboy Cerrone, getting really relevant. And now he's doing Oscars.
Yes,
that's that brainchild of crossover, new audiences.
But you know, you have to have a willing participant.
Right.
You know, Stephen A. Smith. First of all, it's an individual that. He said when he was fired from ESPN that I was there for him. I supported him, I mentored him, I gave him options to keep his brand afloat. And I was just doing Rushion, and I tend to do that a lot.
What do you tell people when something like that happens? Like what, you know, because he's looking up to you. I mean, they're in a difficult time.
I answer the phone.
Okay. And no one else is answering the phone.
Yes, I answer the phone, and I talk. And I have a rational reason to tell you, don't stop. Because I'm gonna tell you something, man. Success is tied to hype. So you ride hype until you get a check. But see, that's why I always tell people, I don't know how much money you make and don't really care. You should know, but you shouldn't care about how much money I'm making. You should care about how much money you can make. That's what hype is all about. So if I don't know how much money you're making, then if I show up in a car, I fly first class, then guess what? I am presenting myself as a successful person. So I always tell people who are struggling, don't stop the game. Embrace the game, but realize it's going to take effort and planning to go to the next level. So if you fall down, don't sit down and tell everybody. That's the key. Act like it's no big deal.
Right. And so you kept him focused, thinking about the long-term prospects.
Absolutely.
We're getting back to this.
Absolutely.
And you did get him back to this.
Absolutely. And so when he asked me to come on board, he had a vision. Remember I was talking about the team? He had a vision in place. Rushion, I want to put together a team. I feel you're a key person I got to have on my team. Will you be my business manager? I said, yes, I will. Because you're understanding that a corporation, Apple is not successful because the CEO. There's a team. And that's why I got to tell people in life, you have to have a team. And sometimes your team is your family. But it's very, so what does that mean, Rushion? Well, when they come home, they should be positive. They should embrace the effort that you're putting out there to bring food home, and vice versa. And you should understand the role that they play. See, if everybody understands the role that they play in people's lives to be successful, then more people will be successful. But people don't. And they'll complain, they'll point fingers because they don't want to understand the effort that's being put in place to win.
Yeah. Tell me about Stephen A. Smith. What's he like? Why has he been so successful? What does he do different than other people? And where's he going?
I'm gonna tell you something. And we was off air talking about this, Stephen A. Smith. And I tell him this all the time. I think I tell him a lot of things that he hears me, and then he'll tell me, somebody just said that, Rushion. And he said, you're always kind of ahead of what people are saying because of the fact that his articulation is off the chart. His vocabulary is off the chart. I used to watch him, and he would talk like for 15 minutes straight on an ESPN break or 5 minutes straight and wouldn't stumble. And I would call him, I said, man, that's not normal. It's not normal to be able to wrap a complete thought and then have a because you have a beginning, middle, and an end. And he could do that. And it is translated to social media. And there's no one that is more social media engaged than Stephen A. Smith, sports or otherwise. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, when he talks to camera, he's got some way of making you feel like he's talking to you. He's
or challenging you.
Yeah, or challenging you, saying something relevant, saying something controversial. And, like I said, this thing recently when he made this comment about the Cowboy Cerrone, Conor McGregor fight, now everyone's talking about Stephen.
Absolutely.
Which you must be have a big smile on your face.
Well, the thing about it is that we didn't know where that came from, because of the fact that, the whole thing about that UFC situation was that they're acting like you can't comment on that sport, that you have to be nurtured in that sport. How you gonna comment on something that this is not? He was just making a comment. He has that right to do that, and so the conflict was that they felt that he had no right to make a comment, and that's not fair.
Yeah,
that's not fair.
Yeah, it's the way that I've been following the UFC for about 20 years, and so. For so long, it wasn't embraced by the mainstream, so everyone just is real protective of it.
Yes.
So when they see a newcomer come in, they say, well, you don't know what it's about, you don't know all the unwritten rules, the respect, the martial arts, etc. But Stephen's saying, I watched the fight, I work at ESPN, I'm gonna come in on the fight. And I think it's a healthy discussion. And,
it's an amazingly good discussion because now not only you already got a popular brand, now you're communicating your popular brand with a very popular sports figure or media figure, which I don't think Mr. White upset about this conversation. In fact, he knows that his brand is now moving on to another spectrum of opportunity of eyeballs. It's all about the eyeballs. And Joe Rogan, he's a former comedian. He's worked his way to this point where but he all knows that everything is about growth. He grew into that position. And so that doesn't mean that you get to learn the sport too. And so that doesn't mean that Stephen A., just because that's not his sport 24/7, doesn't mean he can't comment on football or basketball or UFC or boxing. That's not fair.
Yeah. What are your plans for Stephen in the future? Is he just going to get bigger and bigger?
Game show host,
is he going to
talk
host
show.
the Oscars?
He can. I know some. Well, first of all, I want him to produce shows. I want him to. He has the ability to grow a brand with commentary because his background is journalism, and so we want to produce shows together. Then I want him to host a game show. Then I want him to host a type of one-on-one talk show, not an Arsenio Hall show, just a one-on-one in front of a live audience, because I feel that's what's missing in the audience now. Oprah does it on her Sunday shows, but really America needs another voice, especially an African-American voice, to be able to talk to everybody. Okay. And I think it's missing. And I feel he can deliver that.
And that's what you bring to your clients. You want to give them this breadth. You want to give them more than that. Just I'm a personal brand. I'm doing my own thing.
Absolutely. That's what Steve Harvey did. Steve Harvey, brilliant stand-up comedian, did the original Kings of Comedy. Then we brokered a local deal in LA to do radio, which was a standard. Which the reason I did that, because guess what? We had a check every week. We didn't have to worry about whether that gig got canceled, that talk show got canceled. We had a check every week. So it stabilized him emotionally and made him feel confident because he was getting paid. Now, other people saw that as like a step back, but they didn't realize my plan. That was only part of the plan. Get stability, then you can be able to say yes or no to opportunities that come your way. And then we moved in 2005 to New York City, WBLS, and syndicated the show. They told us that would never work because Tom Joyner at the time was the dominant voice in Morning Drive. We only had 4 stations. Well, now, fast forward, 2020, Tom Joyner is no longer in radio. Steve Harvey is flourishing. But along the way, we were still dominant voices in the urban market. And that's when we had the opportunity to write the book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. And when that book was, know that we signed on the urban arm of HarperCollins. So they wanted the book to be, you know, black women do this, black women do this, black women think this. And Steve refused that. He was Rushion, I'm not doing that. Make it happen. We're not gonna write a book that only resonates with black women when we know all women have relationship issues. Well, we fought that, and 3 million books later, it became 2 movies later. It launched an opportunity for him to get the Family Feud deal. Wow. The Family Feud deal crossed him over.
Okay, and that was your idea.
Yeah.
And that's bringing back that old classic, putting him in the middle of it, and then boom.
But he had already set the groundwork for that because of the fact that he had hosted Showtime at the Apollo, had great improvisational skills. He was amazing on his feet. And so if you watch the way Steve Harvey does that show, he'll come out and he'll go, are you ready? Just get fired up. Come over here. The Hanson family, the Johnson family. He does it really clean. And then when he goes to the families, he's Steve Harvey.
Okay.
When he comes out, he gives you the show, the polish, the articulation. But when he goes to the family, he's Steve Harvey.
Right.
Funny, brash, very clever, very friendly. Feel like you can go eat a hamburger with him along the sideline. And that's what makes him successful.
2 different types of showmen inside the same show.
And he's been working on
from
that.
his background.
All comes from that hard work. That hard work on Showtime at the Apollo. That hard work of being a stand-up comic on the road. That hard work of people telling you you can't be there. He's a former stutterer. Okay, wow. He stuttered. So overcoming those odds. And he's very, very smart.
Content, we'll just finish up on that. What can you tell us about what makes a good show, what doesn't? How can people learn about that? Is it about testing? Like, I don't know. What can you tell us about?
Well, you know, a lot of people try to put, let me just back up a little bit. The number one mistake that people make is they'll bring a funny person and somebody go watch them on tape or watch one of their specials and say, I know them. I can write a show for them. No, you can't. No, you can't, because you don't know that person's nuances. And so sometimes they'll plug a talent into an idea instead of sitting down with the talent and saying, hey, what do you want to do? And then trusting that the talent can deliver the goods. I think Seinfeld did that, okay? And so because somebody actually listened to him and said, this is the show I want to do. And other situations have worked out equally successful as well, if you listen to the talent.
Because the audience knows. If it's not congruent with the talent, the audience will always reject it. Right?
If it's not organic, it won't work for the talent or the audience. Right. I don't care who you got on screen. The Hollywood is filled with television shows canceled with major stars attached to it. But you gotta have a talent that you really, Ray Romano's show. You know, you look at that show, it was organic to his ability and his thought process. I remember when I was doing stand-up comedy in New York City, I was sharing a stage with Jon Stewart. I was sharing a stage with Dennis Leary. I was sharing a stage with Ray Romano. I was sharing a stage with Jerry Seinfeld. All these people worked their craft. And guess what? They had successful shows. And because from their point of view. So if you want to get content that has longevity, start listening to the talent.
Right. Is that why you think you see so many famous YouTubers that blow up? Because they're being themselves, they're organic, they're just doing it their way.
They're being authentic. They know their audience, they know their voice. And so once you understand who you're talking to, see, the thing about it is that when you launch TV shows on networks and streaming now is really big, and then of course Facebook Watch and things like that. So what happens is you have people telling you got 18 to 34, you got 18 to 49, you got 25 to 54. Okay, so, but a person who launches a show on YouTube, they worry about their age group. They're not worried about 18 to 49 or 25 to 54, or if the age group is 25 to 54, that's who they're talking to. But when you come to network, they'll throw so many demos at you. Who can talk to everybody?
Right. So you end up talking to nobody.
Yes, yes, okay. Yes. Because what happens is when they sell these shows, they sell them incorrectly. They should say, this person right here, when we bring this person on, I know you guys think we're 18 to 24 network or 18 to 34 network. This person's going to be 25 to 54. Well, if that person's going to be a 25 to 54, then you shouldn't put them on your network, because no audience is going to find them on that network. A show that's successful on Fox is not going to be successful on CBS. The shows are successful on CBS, may not be successful on ABC. All these people have developed lanes of entertainment that work for them because of the audience that they've cultivated for years. And so when you launch a show over there, you understand why it's successful and why it's not successful on the next network.
How important is it for your clients to be on YouTube, to do vlogs and embrace that raw form of social media? We saw Will Smith come out and embrace YouTube in the last 2 years. His wife, Jada, as well, embracing that podcast medium with no filter. How important is it for your clients, or do your clients need to think about those strategic deals going forward?
I think that social media is not going anywhere. Now, I will tell you this, you will not grow on social media like you could grow 10, 15 years ago. That's not going to happen because the algorithms are different. Okay, so when you see the numbers of the Kardashians, nobody's reaching those numbers again. You see numbers like Kevin Hart, nobody will reach him as a stand-up comic because the algorithms are different. And he was smart enough to get started early in the game. But so that means that guess what we have now? We have a system out there that allows you to develop your voice, market your voice, and promote your brand. So one of the #1 things that we did with Stephen A. Smith for the Oscars was post a press release. 40,000 likes later on Instagram, that's people who didn't know about it. And guess what? The people who see that with the Oscars post-show go, wow, he did that? And so you can use your brand relation with the social media to market the opportunities for production deals, talent that you can market, products you can market. So that's the power of being able to do this. I call it the Muhammad Ali era. When Muhammad Ali was doing his thing, I always call him, he's the first original guy who understood branding, was Muhammad Ali. The next guy who understood branding was Deion Sanders. These people, for
Understand branding, what do you mean by that?
Mean that they knew their talents.
Yeah.
They were not afraid to tell everybody, I'm the best. That's what Ford does. I've got the best cars, come by me.
Yeah.
That's what McDonald said, I got the best hamburger, come get it from me. Chick-fil-A says the same thing. All these products have always told us how great they were in order for you to buy it. When Muhammad Ali came out and said, I'm the greatest boxer you ever seen, and I'm pretty too. Good looking. People go, okay, who else is talking like that? Why is he talking like that?
And he went viral before the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Deion Sanders, I'm the best cornerback. I'm prime time. I can play baseball, football. I can do anything I want to do. Everybody looking, still relevant today because of young players still look at him. Because these individuals got it, understood it, and were not afraid to promote it. That's what our older generation is not embracing. The ability to take your brand and market it and sell it to your age group. See, I'm gonna tell you something. You're 40 years old, you should not be trying to sell to an 18-year-old person. They might not be relatable. So then you get frustrated. Find your niche, understand your brand, and sell it. I was at the Magic Fashion Show in Las Vegas, and this guy walked up to me. He said, I like your bag. And I said, oh, thank you. I said, so I got it from London. He said, I got a friend of mine who, he has bags and he's trying to figure out how to get them out there. I said, well, won't you start a Facebook group? He said, huh? Yeah, Facebook group. I said, because what happens is when you start a Facebook group for his brand, then everybody who buys it will post it. And that's how it's little simple things like that. That's when I talk to my talent or talk to people like I'm talking to individuals who are listening and watching this show right now, is that you have the tools to win. Just use it. But understand, you have to be talking to people who want to hear it.
Is your niche almost always your age group, your background, your gender, your race? Is it more times than not that?
Absolutely.
Don't try to make it complicated.
Let me tell you something. I tell people this. If you had 1 million social media followers, okay, and I kind of use the music analogy, okay? So if you had 1 million social media followers, if you posted a video or image, then you should get 1 million likes. That does not happen. Because that might be a country and western song you just posted. That might be an R&B song you just posted. That might be a pop song you just posted. So you have to understand who's talking to you, who finds you relatable. And so you have to digest that. You have to realize, who is my brand talking to? That's why it's important to understand that you just can't talk to everybody. That's an impossibility. Nor will you have any loyalty if you're talking to everybody. Because everybody see you different. Some people might, if you're talking to younger people, you're older, they might see you as an uncle. You know, that age group might see you as a friend. younger people might see you as a mentor. So you have to figure out how you want to display your brand and how you want people to respond to your brand.
Right. And once you get that following, start thinking about the second level ways of monetizing and taking that brand forward. Because it's chess, not checkers. So you're saying, look at what Stephen A. Smith is doing. Let's not try to get an extra couple million at ESPN.
Right.
Let's go into producing. Let's go into product placement.
Absolutely.
And that's where your genius kind of comes in. Let's start thinking about the other things behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And you have to. Yeah. The thing about it is that we live in a society, for better or worse. Social media can lead to bullying, can lead to situations that are unflattering, because people don't realize that, okay, once you post something, it doesn't go away. Just because you delete it, it's still there. It's still on that line of communication. So you have to be smart. You have to be more mature to your approach. But know that I'm an award-winning baker, bakerspotlight.com. It's my moneymakingconversation.com. It's my entertainment and entrepreneurship. I consider myself the leading voice in entertainment and entrepreneurship, moneymakingconversation.com. So you go there, I interview CEOs, industry decision makers, entertainers, entrepreneurs, so they can tell me how to be successful. Tell me through my interviews. You listen, take those nuggets that they're dropping. And then I have 3815 Media, which is my production company. Then I have RushionMcDonald.com, which is my Renaissance website. Imagine if I tried to put all that information on RushionMcDonald.com.
Or on one social media account. It would be a mess. It would connect with no one and be, who is this guy?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you really segment that piece.
And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do that, because you have to accept that what you do can't be told, that story can't be told, will it be listened to by everybody just because you put it out there?
Yeah. We were talking UFC earlier. Conor McGregor has his whiskey brand. Mm-hmm. Is that a good way to monetize his fame? And if you were the manager of Conor McGregor, and maybe if I broker this deal, I'll get a cutback. But what would you advise him to do? Is that a smart way to use all of that brand to build a business on the side?
Well, let me just let you know. I first of all, I look at who are his followers. I go to this age group. And then because you can go granular now. It used to be in the old days, you would have to, when you join the fan club, you have to put their age, you have to put where they live, you have to put their income. No. You just give me your email address and I can tell you where you're from, how old you are, where you're shopping, and all that stuff. So I would like to believe that they did some research, simple research on who his fan base was. I'm pretty sure his fan base is probably about 70% male.
Yeah, if not more.
Yes. So know that. So that's fine. So when they presented him in the ads, he wasn't dressed in a UFC outfit. He was dressed like I am dressed or like you are dressed. So they was appealing to the women too. Mm-hmm. Okay, but they was also talking tough to the guys and letting them go on there. So they got a clear understanding. We want those women because women really do control the purse.
They make the buying decisions. I didn't know that.
So we can't ignore them. When you're sitting in the room going, let's have a party. Well, let's go get this McConaughey. So that's what we have to understand, is that research goes into it. So you don't make decisions today based on hunches. You make decisions based on simple research, and people can tell you just by the people who follow you, what they like, what they drink, how they party, how they travel, and you take that information back over to a person like Conor McGregor, and he might go, why that? Well, first of all, everybody know you drink. Everybody know you like to party.
Sometimes we see a lot of it.
Right. We see it a lot of it in public.
Right.
So this is not a reach, And so
you're from Ireland, whiskey's from Ireland, right?
So now
so it looks like an intelligent move.
Yes, but also I just like the way they had him dressed. He looked good. Yeah. He was engaging to me. I noticed him.
But you would get him into Hollywood. You would get him crossing over. You'd be having him produce his own shows.
Absolutely. Okay. Not only just Hollywood. He's an international star.
Yeah.
He could definitely do things that are not being available. That as a talent, he can open doors and take meetings based on who he is. But you need to know who follows him.
Right. You mentioned how big your social is these days. 10 years ago, a billionaire might have more clout than someone else. These days, if you got 5 million followers on Instagram, that gets you into things. That gets you meetings. That gets you connections that is somehow priceless to a certain extent, right?
Here's the funny thing about that. Yes and no.
Okay.
Engagement is the key. That's why a person can have 19,000 Instagram followers and be considered an influencer based on their engagement. What is engagement? That means the likes, the views, the reach. And so, because that's what people look at. And so a 5 million, person can have 5 million followers on Instagram, but if they don't have the engagement of a person who has 1 million, then guess what? When they post something, nobody reacts to it. That's what I mean. Understand who's following you and why they are following you. So when you go out there trying to set a tone or an opportunity to market something, you know you can market to them and they will respond.
Yeah. We mentioned Kevin Hart recently. He had a new documentary that came out on Netflix. I don't know if you watched it or not.
I have not watched it.
So, and he's got a group around him, it seems like mostly friends on his team, but it's quite a really honest account of, you know, tumultuous couple of years with him and kind of the things that happen behind the scenes from, you know, all sorts of things that happened to him, right? So some, you know, whatever, some affair that happened that he was really honest about, from the Oscars saying no at the end and the whole process. And it was really raw.
Right.
But you also got to see he had a team of guys behind him.
Right.
Some of them were old friends, some of them whatever. I guess my question to you is, what do you think Kevin Hart should be doing in the future? And what do you think he does well? And what do you think he should be doing in the future?
First of all, he controlled his narrative.
Okay.
With that, I haven't watched it,
right?
But I know he controlled his narrative.
Okay. This is an important point, because some people watch that, and when you watch it, I mean, he's so raw that some people are like, I can't believe you would put that out there. But you would, so you can control it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd rather tell my story than you to make up a story that I have to kind of like apologize for or try to defend.
Okay.
So
even if the story's ugly, you'd rather tell it.
Yeah, I want to tell it.
Because you own it.
I own it.
Okay.
Once that level of honesty comes out, then people move on.
Isn't that funny?
People move on. But people, trolls, they want to just keep snapping. Yeah. What about this, Kevin? What about Kevin? Say, hey. Watch my next Netflix special. Watch it. All that's been talked about already. Can we just move on now?
Yeah.
Now, if you having problems with it, just go watch it on Netflix. I got a check for that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. So he's
controlling your narrative is very key.
Crazy like a fox that way. So
Absolutely.
Like you said, it's been put to bed, it's been acknowledged, and it's there.
Absolutely.
And now we can move on.
You can move on. But social media allows you to do that nowadays. You had to call a press conference 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Great example of controlling the narrative is Barack Obama's book, Dreams from My Father, when he admits his drug use. He does that years before running for president, and it's like, oh, he did cocaine. Yeah, but he mentioned that in his book.
Right.
Now let's talk about the important stuff.
Right.
Now, if he hadn't have done that, that could have easily derailed him from candidacy. Right?
Absolutely, because people always want to go, I told you so. Look, he's lying.
Right.
Look, he's a bad person. Look, I wouldn't follow him because he's a liar. Control your narrative, and everything just goes away to where you want it to go. You have not erased what you've done, but at least you've discussed it and openly said, I'm sorry, or openly said, hey, this is how that situation got there, and I'll have better people around me. I won't make that mistake again, and here's my story.
Powerful. All right, let's talk about your reinvention, because you are changing everything up in your life.
Let me ask the final question about Kevin Hart.
Yeah, tell me.
Kevin Hart is an incredible actor. His gifts, I've been fortunate to be around him on radio, did a couple of movies with him. And as a man, he's special. As an actor, you guys have not even, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You'll see many more fantastic dramatic roles from him. I see him like the modern day Robin Williams, because Robin Williams could do that, stand up, then acting. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Hart won an Oscar.
So it'd be good to see him in some roles where he can explore that range.
And he will.
And he will.
Even when you see him in comedic roles, you go, boy, he plays that well.
Yeah.
Boy, he knows how to transition lines and make them better or make them stronger. If Kevin Hart won an Oscar, I would not be shocked.
That's super powerful. All right, let's talk about you.
Yes, sir.
You severed ties with Harvey, and
yes,
you
sir.
said, I'm going to go do my own thing now.
Yes,
and again, for the sixth time in your life, everyone tells you you're crazy.
Absolutely.
Right? Crazy for leaving IBM.
Yeah.
Crazy for living out of comedy and going to work for Steve. And now you're doing this thing.
Yes.
Tell me about why you made that decision, and how do you deal with what people say?
Well, first of all, it's called controlling the narrative. And in social media, sometimes you can't. And sometimes in life, you have to say, what do I want to do? I tell people, Steve Harvey and I, we stopped. I stopped last year, March 5th, 2016, when I made the announcement on his radio show and to our staff that I was not going to move forward managing him. You know, I had tears in my eyes when I made that announcement because I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I had built his brand. See, you always hear me preach about multiple levels of income. I did that for him, but I was getting one check from him. So I didn't do it for myself. So I had to realize that this is not the principles that I preach. I have to find out, am I capable of achieving that on my own? And so 2016, I always tell people, I was kind of like when I walked in the room pitching shows, everybody expected Steve Harvey to walk in behind me. Just, right. And so I never took a meeting really with a belief that they took a meeting because they wanted to see Rushion McDonald hear his ideas. Okay. And so in 2017, my accountant, at the end of the year, my accountant said, okay, Rushion, send me all the information so we can file taxes. I said, there won't be no income from me in 2017. He went, he's never heard that from my accountant since '93, CPA. And he said, is everything all right? I said, it's fine. I just had to use 2017 to find out what was my voice, who I was going to talk to. And in 2017 is when I launched Money Making Conversations. It's Money Making Conversations as a platform that allows me to use my gifts, to be able to change people's lives with information. And what happened was, when I launched it in May of 2017, of course, all the celebrities called me, you know, Charlotte Wilson, Patti LaBelle, everybody who's who list. And then, but I didn't know what I was talking about. And secondly, I didn't know if they was calling me because they thought I was still managing Steve Harvey. And they were just calling because I might get them on the radio show or the talk show, which was still on at the time, or because they knew my brand was pretty huge. And I told my staff, I go, I don't know why I'm talking to them. I said, I can't keep doing this show and talking to people who are calling me, and I don't know why I'm talking to them. So I stopped with the celebrities. I said, bring the regular people in so I can find out what they need, find out what their issues are in starting businesses or starting the career development or starting, why are they not accepting the opportunities I see out there for everybody? And so I started talking to regular people, and then I came back and started mixing celebrities and regular people, which is the format you have today. That you have everyday successful people in the fields of entrepreneurship, entertainment, like I said, CEOs, industry decision makers. I consider you an industry decision maker, a person who shifts the dynamics through conversation, shifts the dynamic because of information. And those people are very important because oftentimes industry decision makers are people who sit in the background. They can hire you. How do you deal with that? What is your job title? Why are you accepting that job title? Why are you moving? Why are you getting into this relationship? Always understand that our whole life is tied to contracts. You have a marriage contract. You have a job contract. We have to understand that we, in this era that we're living in today, is one giant business.
And that moment of fear you had when you're announcing that, you tell people that really uncomfortable feeling is a good sign.
That's the best sign you can have. But that's the sign that people run away from. Fear. Exactly. Fear of change, fear of the unknown. I'm gonna tell you something. I probably had that fear. I'm gonna tell you, can I tell you this? I live in Atlanta, so I came up here to do an interview. There's a degree of fear. I've never been interviewed by you. I don't know where I'm coming into. I don't even know the questions because you don't send questions. So some people will be going, I don't know if I should do this interview. What is he going to talk about? It could be that minor. It can be that minor. And so, but it also could be that major, okay, I gotta move. Your fear could be a relationship that you should end, but you're afraid to end it. It could be like, excuse me, it could be about looking at an opportunity but you don't realize, but you're afraid of the amount of work that comes with it, or leaving your friends behind. All these things are fear. But if you have that fear, I'm telling you, Brian, if you're making a transition and it's tied to fear, smile. Right. Because you're about to change your life in the right direction.
Right. It's a good sign. And I guess if you do it enough, you look for that on a regular basis. You're like, where's that fear? Because if without the fear, you know you're not going to be making a move that's going to have enough risk in it to get you to the next level.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the thing about it is that I've been afraid all my life.
Most people wouldn't believe that,
no.
Sean.
I wake up afraid because I get on a plane. That doesn't mean it's going to land. You know, I get out of know that we have in life have kind of like buried natural fears. And so, but when unnatural opportunities come to you, I mean, like changing jobs, ending relationships, or pursuing a raise, or pursuing a new position, that's unnatural. So we start putting up guards. And guess what? You know what number one problem we have with that? We start talking to people who have no clue to what can be good for you. I'm thinking about getting that job. Oh, how many hours are they going? Is that a lot? That might be a lot more work. So they start beating down the opportunity. So whenever you have an opportunity, please talk to somebody who can understand the opportunity, who will calm your fears and tell you to go for it. I always tell people to go for it, but go for it with a plan. Go for it with an idea that, guess what, your life is going to change, so you can't keep doing the same things. And also I tell people, get up at the same time every day. If you want to be successful, you can't get up on some days, you can't hit the snooze button. The snooze button, throw that clock away if you're living off a snooze button. I hear people say, I'm not a morning person. Throw that idea out the way, because you cannot be successful that way. You have to get up at the same time every day. My time is 4 a.m. That may not be your time, but I know that when I get up, I stretch, I stumble around. And I always tell people this too, Brian. I don't like getting up at 4. I hate it.
But you like being successful.
There you go.
Right. And you've also tell people to focus on short-term goals. You like this idea of the short-term goal as opposed to some really long-term thing. Absolutely,
because what happens is a lot of people, see, here's the thing about goals. Tom Brady, he wins a Super Bowl, what did he say? I want to win another Super Bowl. He's already moved his goal. He should be, see, what a lot of people do with their goals, they stop. Instead of realizing that goal is the next step to another goal. So that's what short-term goals are, 30-day. Put them in like a 6-week to a 30-day window. And that, but you knowing that 30 days will take you to the next 30 days. And then if you have a plan in place, then you'll be looking at a 90-day window. But understand that people always know. Now, it's a different, let me just back up a little bit and say this, Brian, is that I tell people not to brag on what they've done, but talk about what they will do. But you have to have a resume to talk about what you can do in order for people to believe that it can be accomplished. So if you won one Super Bowl, then when you say you want to win another Super Bowl, it has credibility. But if you say, if you have not won any Super Bowl, they go, who is he talking to? I'm gonna go with the guy who's won a Super Bowl. And so in life, people, they tend to take an opportunity and just ride with that for the rest of their life. You ever be around people, they always talk about what they did 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yeah, I actually don't hang out with those people anymore.
But they exist, yeah. And they're in your circle. They're in circle. They're people's circle right now. They always talking about high school, talking about college, talking about an experience that they had that you're going, that is so distant from your thought process, it doesn't even matter to you anymore because you have so many accomplishments between that conversation. And so you have to get away from people who keep rallying around a success point that was in the distant past because they refuse to understand that you have to walk past fear, move beyond doubt, surround yourself with people who are like-minded in your success patterns.
And if you talk about what you're doing next, then there is an element of fear, which is why maybe people don't want to do it, right?
Absolutely.
And then those 30-day goals, another thing about that is that, you know, you meet someone, hey, that thing you did, wasn't that a month ago?
Yes.
What'd you do?
Yes.
So it really forces you to kind of put up or shut up and take the risks and make something happen, right?
Well, the thing about it is this, isn't it on you? My conversation I'm having with you is not to you, it's to everybody who's watching your show. It's to let them know that they can be special, that they can be successful. And that's why I started moneymakingconversation.com, to let people know that I'm providing you with information. You come to my website, it's not just gonna pop up, go $9.99, ding! No, it's about information where you can go there. Why am I doing that? It's part of my brand development. It's part of my creating a level of authenticity when I talk. Okay, Rushion, who do you talk to? Go to moneymakingconversation.com. You'll see. Why do they talk to you? Listen. Because now, if you listen to the older versions, when I started in 2017, they'll be different than how I'm talking now because I found my voice. I know why I'm giving you advice. I know why you should listen to my show. I know that I tell people, stop reading other people's success stories and start writing your own. When I tell people, lead with your gifts, your passion, understand you need to have a plan in place. Hope is not a plan is a plan. These are not little catchy phrases, this is reality. And so when people are telling you what you cannot do, they're telling you what you cannot do because they don't have a plan. So stop listening to it.
The new book, you tell people, stop shooting for average. Shoot for something bigger than average.
Absolutely.
Okay. What can we expect from the book?
What you can expect is a step-by-step process of how you should be successful based on your skills. Here's the deal. I can never be LeBron. And Stephen A. Smith says this thing. Stephen A. Smith tells people, hey, you can be Stephen A. Smith. Yes, you can. He was left back in grade school. That didn't stop him. He went to an HBCU school. That didn't stop him. He was fired at ESPN. That didn't stop him. That's what my book is about. Don't let setbacks stop you from fulfilling your dreams. Don't let setbacks stop you from altering your plans. And more importantly, the book tells you how to get the right people around you, how to make sure that your plan is for you, not because somebody told you you should be dribbling the basketball when you really should be studying and be a potential doctor. Plan your course according to you. And realize that if you're struggling in your 40s, you're struggling in your 50s and 60s, and you don't know what you want to do in your life, do not be afraid of your age. Embrace your age. Realize it's just a number. And look back to what you wanted to be in your 20s. Before all this life-changing decision makers, you follow the wrong path. That person you can still be. But you cannot be that person if you don't believe in yourself. And that's what my book is. That's what my book will be, and I'm just happy. I'm excited because I couldn't have written that book 5 years ago. I couldn't have written that book if I was still managing Steve Harvey.
Right.
But I can manage it now because I am rebranding myself. I am the last talent that I am looking in the window saying, hey, can Rushion McDonald, does he have a voice? Does he have a level of respect that people want to follow? Yes, they do.
Tell me a bit about you. What's something that you do every day that's just non-negotiable that allows you to be successful? I know you wake up the same time every day, but
that's non-negotiable.
That's non-negotiable. Is there some other thing that you do, a regular practice or a mindset that allows you to be the guy you are?
I feel that I constantly challenge people around me. Here's the thing, is that if somebody calls me and asks me, what am I doing? That's going to be a very short conversation because you called me. And that's why I got the phrase, I have no time for no non-money-making conversations. You have to call me with a sense of value. I have time to chit-chat. That's a different conversation. But you do not call me and ask me, hey, Rushion, what's up? I'm going to go, why are you calling me? Oh, man, you going to be like that? Yeah. So let's get to why you calling me now. If you're trying to get a play-by-play on Rushion McDonald's life, that's not going to happen. But if you're going to have a conversation about why you calling me, then we're going to get along real good on this call. That I will not change.
And that call has something to do with a money-making conversation or creation of something.
I'm going to tell you something. Everybody, Brian, has a money-making conversation.
I love money-making conversations.
Everybody has it. But you know what? They do not understand that they have that same opportunity because they worked a job, because they've been beaten down, because they're in a marriage they don't want to be in. They're in a relationship they don't want to be in. They know they're surrounded by people who don't care about them, never will, don't see any value in them being existing in this world or being special. That's what the average person walking down those streets right now is experiencing right now. My job is to snatch them with information, snatch them with motivation, snatch them and ask them to look in the mirror, put down that stop sign. You're actually stopping yourself. It's not your parents, it's not your minister, it's not your kids. It's now on you. It's time for you to understand that you are stopping you. Stop. Now, when you stop, accept this, change. Accept this, planning. Accept this, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Accept the fact that the people around you go look at you different. They're gonna call you crazy. They're gonna question your beliefs. They're gonna ask, why are you doing this? Hey, let's go do this, because they wanna keep you in that lane because you're the person that they were leaning on. Believe that your strengths can be valued, not only for other people, but it should be valued for yourself. It's all right to be selfish. It's all right to believe that you can win being yourself, and too many people don't. I gotta stop that. That's my legacy, Brian. That is my legacy.
I'm excited, man. You're very passionate about that. I love it, man. Let me ask you another question. If I ask 5 of your best friends, what is Rushion's superpower? How does this man able to get everything done that he does? What would they tell me, do you think? What would they say is it about you?
It's so funny. I had 4 of my fraternity brothers, Omega Psi Phi is my fraternity from college. I hadn't saw him in a long time. I flew him to my home in Atlanta, and we spent New Year's Eve together.
Okay.
And
what was the fraternity experience like for you?
I
was in one too, and it was.
I'm gonna tell you something.
It was powerful.
I graduated in college in 7 years. All right. Okay. At the age of 23, I pledged Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and so it was a 6-week pledge program that wound up being like 13 weeks. But that was the first time I completed a goal.
Difficult goal, right?
Very difficult goal. But I used that goal. That's why that's why I talk about short-term goals. But I used that pledge process because I knew I didn't even see a window of graduating. I didn't even graduate. I was in school for 5 years, and I wasn't even close. I was still like a junior, maybe. And so, but when I pledged, I graduated in 2. Because I used that pledge opportunity, which led to me being student body vice president, which led me to go work for IBM. Notice how once you change and start setting goals in place, your lifestyle changes, the people around you change, the perception of you changes. And that's what I talk about short-term goals. So the pledge experience was important to me because I used it as a stepping stone for goal planning. I knew I wasn't gonna graduate in 6 weeks. But I thought I could pledge a program and use that program, which became the basis of who I am today because I started doing live events. I started understanding through my fraternity that I can convince people to show up for parties. I convinced people to show up for 3-day weekend events. And that's why I was looking at them, and they asked me why was I thanking them, because I told them they allowed me to be me. They allowed me to, they allowed my vision to change people's lives and didn't question it because they saw something special in me, and but that was in my 20s now. And so when you look at what I'm doing now, what I did for Steve Harvey, what I'm doing for Stephen A. Smith, what I've done in movies with Kevin Hart and the sitcoms with Jamie Foxx and sitcoms with Monique, that was from college. When I had an unbridled desire to be creative, when I knew that I can convince people to show up at a certain day, at a certain time, and they would give me money. I did the same thing with ratings on the radio. I did the same thing with box office receipts. I did the same thing with TV. You show value, people will pay you. You don't show value, they're gonna look around you for some value.
And back to those fraternity brothers, you saw them recently, those 4 guys, and what would they say about you? What would they say is that superpower?
That superpower will probably be that I believed in people because I could not have accomplished the things. So that means that I had the ability to convince large sums of people, a large number of people, to do things that they thought they couldn't do. So my superpower is that I can convince people to be more than they think they are capable of being or doing.
Okay.
That's my superpower. I like to believe that's Steve Harvey. I believe that I'm doing that with Stephen A. Smith. I like to believe I've done that with Monique. I like to believe I've done that with Nick Cannon. I like to believe I've done that with Cedric the Entertainer. I like to believe I've done that with anybody who's come into my life. I like to believe that when Dave Chappelle saw me in front of the Four Seasons, I hadn't saw him like 15 years, and he came out of his car and spoke to me and said, man, I hadn't saw you in a long time, and I wouldn't even thought he would have remembered me. That means I made an impression on him that was good. And that's who Rushion McDonald is. My brand is about telling people they can be special, accept the responsibility of being special, do not let fear win, and know that sometimes the reason you're not successful is you.
What was the best day of your life and the worst day of your life?
Best day of my life was my daughter being born,
Okay.
Christiana. The worst day of my life was when I was announced. It was two worst days. Worst day of my life was, it was two worst days really. I was informed I had cancer.
Wow.
Thyroid cancer. And I always tell people when you hear the word cancer, I don't care who you are, you just think death. I don't give a damn about the survival rate. I don't give a damn, hey, we got new procedures out there. So I didn't even tell anybody in my family that I was diagnosed with cancer until I realized that if this was how Rushion was gonna go out, I was cool with it. Because I looked at my life at that point, and it was 5 years ago, and looked at my life at this point and realized that I'm living the life that I want to live. I've impacted people. I'm living my dream. I've eaten the food I wanted to eat. I've lived the places I wanted to live. I'm good. And I think that everybody should get to that point in life where they can say, I'm good. Mm-hmm. That way you realize that you're living your life. Rushion McDonald is good with his life. And so that day, of course, I wear this so people can, when people ask me, that's nice, I tell them exactly why I'm wearing it. I wanted to figure out a way to be able to tell people that I'm a cancer survivor. Cool. And I also wanted to let people know that I'm a cancer survivor. You probably didn't know that, because I don't look like what you think a cancer survivor. I don't talk like what you think a cancer survivor. I don't walk like what you think a cancer survivor. I don't eat like a cancer. I'll do a banana split. I'll do German chocolate. I'll do a steak. That's what you think cancer survivors don't do? Rushion does it, because you can do it. So stop limiting your dreams. And so whenever I'm on a TV show and they say, that's nice, well, I immediately let them know that I'm a cancer survivor. And it's always like, because in their mind, people shape a vision of what they think people are. And that's all I'm telling you in this interview, is that stop letting people shape your dreams. Stop letting people shape your opportunities. Stop letting people control your destiny. The other time was that I had my surgery. They completely removed my thyroid, okay? Surgery was from here to here. And I'm gonna tell you how that story, you're getting me deep here now, Brian.
Good, that's what we're trying to do.
Every year I do an annual physical. And I do it on my teeth as well as my body. And so December, I did my annual physical. I did it, my doctor, I know these people for years. And there's a lesson to be learned there, is that sometimes when you go in and with doctors and on a regular basis, you can get casual with your conversations that you really don't tell them what's really going on. And so, my doctor said I was fine. And he said, hey, we want you to do some blood tests, just a regular routine blood test. When I went in and saw the doctor, I'm past the dentist now. Now, if anybody knows about thyroids, that's why a doctor checks you here. They're checking for thyroid. They're checking for a cancer placement. So I went through this. Same thing with two highly skilled doctors I've been seeing for years, I trust with my life. This young doctor, female, just saying she's female because she was female. She said, I know I'm doing blood tests, but can I just touch your neck? I go, now this is a person I never had a conversation with before now. She said, what's that? I said, well, I think, I lift weights a little bit, maybe I'll strain my neck a little bit. She said, can we do a biopsy on that? I go, well, I got insurance, why not? That is how I was diagnosed. If she doesn't diagnose me in February, then I would have went another year with that cancer in my system. I was diagnosed. My dentist was stunned. My normal doctor was stunned. And I don't blame them, because you know why? Because I go in there talking like a friend and not a patient. And that's very important for people to hear that. When you go see a doctor, always be a patient. Never be in a hurry. And because a person I didn't know treated me like a patient, and guess what? I talked back to her like I was a patient, and it saved my life. 6 weeks later, your friendly Rushion McDonald, climbs on a ladder. Remember, 6 weeks after surgery now, with flip-flops to change a light bulb on my garage. Climbed all on a 6-foot ladder, climbed all the way to the top. Proceeded to open the door of the little lantern, and it gave way. So that if you go to my house, Brian, I refused to put that little door back on that lantern because that was the only thing that I thought would keep me in the air. And I fell to the ground. And as I was falling, I remember, because I was falling head first, and I remember I had to rotate. I said, Rushion, in my mind, I said, you have to rotate your body as you're falling. And as I fell, my butt hit, soft part, and then my arm hit. And so out of that, I fractured my arm and I fractured my thumb because I was in denial about my health. And so I say that people do a lot of foolish things in life. Nothing, there was no drugs here, there was no alcohol here. It was just me. Denying that I wasn't healthy, denying that I was doing something that I was fully incapable of doing, but I did it anyway. And so many people make mistakes that same way. So those are 2 moments that I always want to share with people because as smart as people think I am, as successful as people think I am, I'm pretty stupid too. But you have to admit these stupid moments in order for you to be corrected in the future. Now, I don't care if it's a light bulb need to be changed in my house. I call an electrician. And that's the truth. Because guess what? I positioned myself financially to call that electrician. Yeah. And he said he has $75 to go up there and change that bulb. Go do it. Because I'm not climbing any more ladders because that's not my job.
You learned your lesson. You learned your lesson. Was that emotional time going through that cancer? I mean, man.
You know, I'm gonna just tell you, I can say I'm a cancer survivor, but I still have cancer. It can come back. But I don't let that stop me. Right. I don't let anything stop me. And so many people, they go through life allowing things to stop them, little bitty things, you know, relationships. I have to go back to that because the fact that there's so many people allow relationships to stop them. Because reason I say that, because that's the one person that can tell you you're great or tell you you're average and still sleep with you. And then, but if you don't have somebody pushing you out that door and then rooting for you when you return, even if you're not returning with a success story, you can't win, man. And so that's why I tell anybody that I'm a cancer survivor. And I tell them proudly, because guess what? I'm pretty sure I don't look like a cancer survivor. I don't talk like one, I don't act like one. And guess what? I'm cool with that because you're talking to Rushion McDonald.
What scares you?
What scares me is that that my daughter, just my daughter won't have the opportunity to see the things that I may have seen in my life. But that's just me. You know, I grew up in the era where you turn on CNN and people are snatching kids and people are doing crazy things in this world that I find unacceptable. But guess what? They probably were doing it in the 60s too. We just didn't have technology just to inform us of this ignorance. And so I think that that's my fear that that the life and that an opportunity. She's a Dean's List student, honor society, National Honor Society student. She's studying gaming design. I just want her to win like her dad won.
Yeah. What would we be surprised to learn about you? And maybe we can talk about baking right now.
That it was funny. It was like I just got my my truck, one of my trucks, the interior redone, and then I went to my optometrist for some contacts, and then my optometrist said, "You bake, right?" I said, "Yeah." Wow, I wish you. No, I can't ask you that. I said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And then I went to when they went and picked up my truck at my house, I had made some coconut macaroons, and I told the owner of the company, I said, "You can have one," and he, "Wow, this is the best I've ever eaten." And so one day, I just took some cupcakes and some coconut macaroons to him. On the same day, I took them to her because that's me. God has given me a lot of gifts, man. And I feel fortunate to be able to share them with people. I feel fortunate to be on your show. This is a blessing to me. And people can say, why do you say that? I say because I'm being honest. I'm just trying to tell people they can be special. I'm just trying to tell people that they're stopping themselves if they're not achieving the goals that they want to achieve in life. I'm just telling people in life that I've been bullied. I'm a black man. I come from impoverished conditions. It took me 7 years to graduate. People have told me that when I was doing stand-up comedy that, hey, you could be a lot funnier if people can understand what you're saying. That didn't make any sense to me because the room was laughing. So people will always question your abilities to be successful. Go deaf, turn a deaf ear, and find people who want to hear your success stories, who want to hear your dreams, and want to help you build your opportunities.
What keeps you awake at night? And do you think we're going to make it in this world?
Rushion McDonald keeps us. I'm going to lie to you.
Are you always thinking about what's next?
Yeah, I get up at 4 o'clock. Okay, and I'm serious about that. And if I go to bed at 2, I look at a Netflix movie. If it's on, I'll watch it. I will enjoy. If I can stay up and not go to sleep, I'll be happy. I've stayed up 52 hours in a row. And I was vibrating, trying to see, but one could always say, was Rushion McDonald his own worst enemy? No, Rushion McDonald is his #1 fan of himself because I'm willing to challenge myself. I'm willing to say what my weaknesses are. And my weaknesses are that I probably care too much. My weaknesses are in college. I probably stayed in college too long because I was trying to help people move forward because I was a natural, which I eventually realized I was a natural person in math. And then I went to school as a civil engineering, and then I went to school, then I changed that to chemical engineering, and then I ran into physics, and physics is the only F I have on my transcript because I didn't understand physics. And so, but I realized that wasn't the journey I was supposed to take. When I took sociology changed my life. Sociology let me know that this is where I was supposed to take my life, to change people, to understand how people interact, to frame out the caste system. Made me realize that, hey, you could be the same color. It's still gonna be, racism. They just say you're darker or you're lighter. There's still gonna be caste system. So it doesn't matter whether you look different or you're the same race. People are gonna break down because the #1 thing is they want to tell somebody who's better than who. And so sociology really allowed me to understand that I can be anything if I understood who I was talking to. And so that college changed my life, man. If I didn't go to college, I will not be sitting here today with you talking about the many great stories we shared in this interview, the many great people I've communicated with over the years. College made it happen.
Rushion, I got a few final questions. I always ask my guests, if you could pick up a magic phone and ring up 20-year-old Rushion, I guess you're a sophomore in school or still a freshman, I don't know what you're doing there, but if you could give that young man some advice based on everything you know now, what's that one thing you'd tell him?
The following success secrets are only available inside the London Real Tribe, where you get exclusive access and insights from our high-performance guests on wealth creation, productivity, leadership, morning routines, health, and well-being. To join our tribe community, go to londonreal.tv/tribe. Now, let's continue with the show.
Powerful stuff. How do we find out about when the book's coming out? How do we get in touch with you? I know you got a lot of different websites for different flavors, but what's the best way?
MoneyMakingConversation.com. You can join my fan club, a big old button to the right when you go on there. First of all, I want to thank you. I just want to thank people who want to listen. I just want to thank people. I've only had one other opportunity to speak like this, and it just went viral. And I feel that I'm even more pronounced about being able to drive people to certain places to see my platform and validate what I'm saying is the truth. But MoneyMakingConversation.com. You join that and you will understand about time frame on my book. I'll be able to send out I'll send out monthly newsletters, my press releases. You'll be aware of I'm also building a YouTube channel, MoneyMakingConversation.com YouTube channel. So all my individual interviews, which are over 500 now. Wow. Because I feel that that's how I'm gonna reach the younger demo, because of the fact that you can go to click a Bishop T.D. Jakes. You can click a Morris Chestnut. You can book different people on there and hear their stories. Hear Deion Sanders talking about his greatness. These are the things that I think, I'm an information highway. And that's what I'm providing to everybody who's watching your show, listening to your show. And because of the fact that information is king, man. Content is king. Information is really the king.
Must be fun listening every week, because that's what you do on your show. You listen to these people teach you things as well, right?
Oh, you know, the thing about, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you, and I love this conversation because I feel we're having a conversation. And in that process, I smile because you're saying some things back to me that I may have not heard, I've heard before, and it's kind of like reaffirming that I'm headed down the right track. And so when I talk to people, my show tomorrow, I have a welterweight boxing champion on there. I have a person who, Texas A&M professor on the show. I have a person with a numerologist on the show. You know, all these things, and so that's eclectic. And people don't talk to people like that. But guess what? All those people are changing lives. All those people have an impact on making people very, very successful. And that's what I'm trying to do.
I love it. I love it. You know, I started doing this show about 8 years ago, and I just started listening. And I'll be honest, you know, sometimes I didn't agree with what the people were saying. It didn't. I wanted to kind of step up and say, no, you're wrong. And I just decided to shut my mouth. And over the years, many of those same people I realized were right. And I just wasn't ready to receive the message. So now what I try to do is listen to people, because you can find wisdom anywhere.
Yes, you can.
Anywhere.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
And there's bits of it. And sometimes one person will say one phrase at the right time, at the right moment in your life, that'll change the direction of your life. Right. I think you've done that today with us.
I feel that way. I love when I finish interviews, and you know, where there's crews that are listening to my my interviews, they go, wow, thank you. And that meant that this interview, if that one person that listened to this interview live, and I was able to break down information in their head and let them realize that they can be special, because that's what all this interview is about. That's all why I came up here. I just came up here to do this interview, to give me a platform to be able to reach some more people and tell them they can be great. And there's nothing wrong with that. I spent an airline ticket, I spent a hotel room, I spent a good or a bad meal to be able to tell people that they can be great. And Rushion McDonald, that's my goal. You go to moneymakingconversation.com, and it's a wealth of information where you can find some nugget of information that will change your life.
I appreciate you coming on. I think you're getting a lot of signs from the universe that you're doing something right. So keep going with that. And look, I appreciate the fact that you reinvent yourself at a point in time when most people will be never willing to do that. They'll be like, I'm going to retire, I'm going to keep doing this. I got a great gig. Right. And I love people that are constantly reinventing themselves. I try to do it once every few years, and it's painful.
Well, guess what? We're friends, okay? No, we're friends. And come to Atlanta. I'm a foodie. I got you. And knowing me, I'm probably going to be in London. No, it's probably going to be this year. I just know my life, and because it's by association. And so, come to New York, tell me, I'll meet you. I just know that people who come into my life, I always tell people that it's really interesting how people come into my life is that they're going to be successful because I choose to give you an opportunity to be in the lane of truth. That's it.
Yeah. Where it all starts. Rushion, I look forward to seeing you in London. I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to come down to Atlanta. No one's ever shown me that town before. And I want one of those macaroons.
Absolutely, my brother. Chocolate tip.
All right, man. I love it. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you.